Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before we get to him, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know this platform is going on. If you have any friends that like comics and like independent comics, send them here. And also check out the Oswald Chronicles, currently on Indiegogo. All right, so without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Mr. Roland Mann.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, Roland?
I'm doing good, and yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. So let's get into it, man. I mean,
All right.
you have a deep history in comics. You've been in the game for a while. I mean, I started 91, 92,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I think you might be a little bit before that.
A couple years. Um,
I, I
so
know I know that wince of pain.
yeah. So the Cat and Mouse, the very first volume was the very first issue was published in 1988. Malibu ended up picking it up, and for the long series, which most people know, but the very first issue was published in 1988. So, yep, late 80s me.
Yeah, I might have a copy somewhere in my collection.
Yep,
It wouldn't surprise me.
if you were reading comics in the late '80s and early '90s, there's a pretty good chance you do. They're pretty easy to find, relatively easy to find in the back issue boxes now. And when I say back issue boxes, I mean the dollar boxes.
Right. Those are the those are the great books to look for.
That's where I love to shop there. It's my favorite shopping place.
Exactly. Now, so let's go to the Wayback Machine. So,
Okay.
what was it like being an editor over at Malibu?
You know what? It was. I tell people this all the time, and I know that what I say does not sound believable, but it really was the dream job. Malibu was everything to me that I wanted comics to be. They were fun. The people who worked there were talented. Of course, there were. There's always anytime you put a collection of people together, there's always going to be, how shall we say, personalities. but overall, it was a very good group of people who wanted to make fun comics, and and when they hired me in '92, that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to make comics, and it was fun. A lot of good people, and in fact, I will tell you how much fun it was, and how many good people were there. I know you're going to get around to asking some of these questions anyway, but if you look at some of the folks that I'm working with in Silverline right now, you'll recognize some of the long tooths from the Malibu days. Now we've got some young folks working with Silverline, but a lot of the long tooths come from the old Malibu days.
Right, right.
And I love that.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, look, just because they're old, we're not dead.
That's right.
We're still working.
I will tell you that I have never understood the sort of Marvel DC mentality of sort of pushing the older veterans out the door.
Right.
I mean, I do get it. I understand that there's a lot of it is financially. Their comics don't sell what they did, so they can't afford to pay the veterans the kind of rates that they should get. But that's still kind of depressing.
Yeah, I think like Mike Zeck, I think left on those like they can't pay him.
Yeah.
The rates that he used to get, which is crazy.
Nope. It is. But the comics just don't sell. They don't sell like that anymore. I did a comic series with Mike Zeck, right?
Really? What'd you do?
Yeah, I did. I co-wrote The Eliminator with Hank Knopfs, and Zeck was the artist for The Eliminator for the Ultraverse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
I got to do a 4-issue miniseries with Mike Zeck, and I loved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
The guy's incredible. I mean,
He
did
is.
For me, one of the most iconic Spider-Man books ever. Craven's Last Hunt.
Oh man, in my top 5 easily. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when you were at Malibu, what were the books that you touched as an editor?
So when I first went out there, I worked on the Protectors line. So that included the Protectors, um, the Ferret, Man of War, Gravestone, the Amazing Man, all of those kind of in that Protectors universe. I also did Dinosaurs for Hire and the X Mutants. I worked on some Necroscope. Those were kind of orphan titles, but Protectors was kind of the main thing.
X Mutants. That wasn't Ron Lim, was it?
Or so the first volume of X Mutants was very much so Ron Lim, but they relaunched X Mutants in the, I want to say 91 too, something like that, because Ron Lim did them from the late 80s.
Okay, right.
Yep, and then when they relaunched under the Eternity label, that was Paul Pelletier.
Okay, right. Paul Pelletier. Wow, haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
For a minute. Yeah.
Yep.
Incredible artist. I met him once in South Jersey.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, he's from Maine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now he lived down here for a while. Oh, I should say down here in Florida when he was working for help me out. They're gone now. The publisher that.
Well, there's so many.
Yeah. That had the millionaire that started the company. They did really well. CrossGen, thank you. Yes. Yeah, he moved down here to work for CrossGen, and then after CrossGen disappeared, he stuck around for a little while. He and I used to meet up and have lunch every now and then, and then he moved back to Maine, which is where his family is. Because once CrossGen disappeared, there was no real reason for him to stick around.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Alessi.
Mark Alessi, that's it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now,
I never met him, but.
Oh, he passed away. What is it? A couple years ago.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah. It is a shame. It is a shame. CrossGen's had such potential.
Oh yeah. And I think its legacy lives on.
Yeah.
In its own strange way, I think it lives on.
Yeah.
So, let's get into you.
Okay.
A little bit now. Sometimes I like to get into process. You're a writer. So when you sit down and you actually work on your scripts, are you like, the type of dude who, are you a pantser or are you a plotter?
I'm very much a plotter.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't do pantser because I kind of got to know where it's going. Because what I like to do in my stories, I like to be able to plant little seeds along the way. So that if you're, because one of the things I enjoy as a reader is being able to read something and I get, towards the end or maybe even the next issue and go, oh, I remember that in that last issue, or I remember that from page 1. Why didn't I see that? That's something that I enjoy as a reader. So I prefer to plot so that I can kind of try to attempt to sprinkle those kind of things in. And gotcha. I do work to try to do that.
No, I got you. It's important. It's important because I'm actually a pantser.
Are you?
Oh yeah, but what I do is I'm a heavy edit though.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll do whatever.
And see that the heavy edit thing, that just sounds like a lot of work to me.
Well,
it's like
hear this. If you think that's heavy, I write in a script.
Oh, okay.
By hand first.
Okay. Yep.
In a journal.
Well, well, that's not it. I do as well. Oh, here we go. I can show you this. I write everything. This is actually the page by. I do everything. Well, not everything. I do it as much as I can Marvel style, page by page plot, right? And while this one's typed up, my first draft of this was handwritten. But when you go to write the dialogue, then you can see there's my hand. I can't figure out where the camera is. There's my handwritten dialogue. Yeah, and then I'll go back and type this in order to use. But yeah, I'm a big believer in handwriting. So why do you do it?
I find it less stressful. As for like if I'm typing, I'll sit there and I'll mull over a line and I'll be like, no, like this.
Yeah.
No, like this.
Yeah.
No, like this.
Yeah.
But if I'm handwriting and I'm like, and I just go and go.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. So that it's freeing, is what it is.
I agree. I think it's very freeing. I think initial reason is a little different because I think it kind of slows me down. Where I feel on the typewriter, I'm just trying to go type, get it out. Like you said, it's like, oh no, back. I edit on the fly. When I'm handwriting, I don't worry about that. I just, because I write with pencils. You probably could tell that was a pencil, but I got all kind of pencils here. I write with pencil, and then I don't even erase. If I don't like something, I just mark through it, and I just keep writing.
I do the same thing, and I write on the subways to work.
Oh,
so I'm sitting there like,
man.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I'm sitting there deciphering. I'm like, what the hell's that? What
yeah. Can't read your own writing.
Yeah. I think that's where I was going. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy I'm not alone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 And I think there are a handful of us out there.
Oh,
probably.
Yeah.
I will add this. Probably. Fewer that in the younger generation.
Yeah.
I don't think they know how to use a pencil.
Yeah, it's weird. I work with a lot of younger coworkers, and when they tell me they can't read cursive, I practically lose my mind.
I know. Isn't it wild? Well, yeah. I'll tell you. So there are 5 years difference between my kids, right? My daughter is the oldest, and then my son's 5 years younger. She was taught cursive in school. He was not. And so we tried to teach him at home as much as possible how to do the letters and how to read, because we're like, how can you have a signature if you can't even write in cursive? What is that saying about the world? Or the world saying, oh, you don't need a signature, you just need a stamp here to scan your, So I can tell he struggles with when he sees cursive. He struggles with some of it. Again, he can read most of it, but sometimes when it like well, you saw my chicken scratch, right? Sometimes he's like, yeah, Dad, that says this and that and that and that, but I don't know what that says.
Right. Yeah.
I read though that they started teaching them again, didn't they? Didn't they start that?
I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I'd have to ask one of my friends.
Yeah, once my kids got out of the school, I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's like, so, how long were you at Malibu for?
So I was at Malibu. I went out there, moved to California in '92, and then moved back in '96. So 3, 4, 5, 6, about 4.5 years. Yeah. Marvel came in, bought the company, and then shut everything down. And I hung around there for a few months until we found more work. But then we moved. I'm originally from Mississippi, and so after Marvel shut everything down, my wife ended up getting a job at Mississippi State University, which is where she went back to get her PhD. So we're like, perfect timing. Go back there, work the job, and get your PhD. But that's actually when I started Silverline, as a publisher the first time.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Now, but I also saw you worked at Marvel as well as an editor.
Yeah. Well, that's because they bought us. It was kind of a de facto thing. It's like, all right, so I have to say this because I'm sure that somebody watching is going to say, "Whoa, Marvel just bought them for the coloring department." That's I don't know how that rumor got around, and I don't know why it's still in effect. But that's the last thing. That's the furthest from the truth. Marvel bought Malibu to keep them out of the hands of DC, essentially. Marvel actually hated the coloring department when they first bought us. When they first bought Malibu, they couldn't stand it. In fact, their editors were very resistant to using it. But we had told them, I think, that we can color a book in 3 days. And one of them, one of the Mark Grunwald, bless his heart, right? Rest in peace, I should say. He one of his books was running late, and I can't tell you which one. Too long ago for me to remember. But he actually called the department and said, "So can you really color a book in 3 days?" And they said, "Sure." He says, "I've got one." And they said, "Send it on." They colored it in 3 days and sent it to him, and he was like, "Wow." And so once Mark Grunwald was won over, it was kind of an eventual that they and then ultimately towards the end, which is one of the things that me as an editor and some of the other editors at Malibu, one of our fears that we voiced when Marvel purchased us, we were like, we're afraid that Marvel's going to come in and push us out of what we're doing. And they're like, no, we're going to keep doing the thing. We're just, we have access to all their resources now and in the catalogs and all that kind of stuff. But then what happened is all the Marvel books started coming into our coloring department, and I actually had to send books outside of Malibu to get them colored towards the very end. And so we're like, yeah, this is exactly what we were afraid of. So that's all. When Marvel published Malibu, they turned Malibu essentially into a division, and I kind of became the managing editor of the division, a Marvel editor of the Malibu division, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Now, so you were there for the tail end of Ultraverse?
Yes, for most of it.
For most of it, gotcha. Because yeah, it's always surprised me that they haven't utilized more of it. I know they've been in lawsuits over it, and they've been fighting people, and
well, they say the story they tell is that, and I haven't seen an official word from them in a long time, so it may have changed, but one of the stories that they tell is that the contracts are too complex for them to interpret. But here's the thing, okay? Here I call bull hockey, right? Because Malibu had an accounting department of about 3 people, I think. Marvel has this huge accounting department. Are you telling me that our 3-person accounting department could figure out our complex contracts and Marvel can't? Yeah. See, that just doesn't hold water. But people buy it. Marvel says it. Oh well, it must be true. And the other thing that some people point to is like, well, the original creators, Englehart, Gerber, Hudnall, these guys, they have percentages. Well, they do, but so does DC. And in fact, the Malibu participation contracts were based off of the DC participation contracts. So they're not complicated. Marvel just doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Probably for the simple reason they just don't want to set precedent.
Yes, I suspect so. Yeah. But, I think, like you said, I think there's a lot of, for me, it's like, okay, you've got all the content. Why not just repackage them as trades and make them available? Well, it probably won't make them a whole lot of money, but it's this perpetual. It could be a perpetual. Oh, here's $10 here, $10 there, kind of thing.
Right.
Because there are still people who want the Ultraverse.
Exactly. I'm about ready to start. Trying to put it together.
Yeah. Oh, dollar boxes are your friends, man.
Exactly. That's where you live with for those things.
That's right.
Let's go dollar bin
That's right.
diving.
Yep.
But hey, like I said, it's part of the fun of it.
It is.
All right.
It is fun.
All right. So we got Malibu out of the way.
All right.
So then let's move on to the important stuff. Silverline.
Okay.
So you said you started again, what, 96, 97?
Yeah, 97 is when we moved back to Mississippi, and I'm like, you know what? Essentially, my thought process was this. Silverline existed in the early 90s when basically me and Stephen Butler, what happened is me and Stephen with Bitch Bird broke into the industry at the same time with Cat and Mouse, the first volume, right? And we started going to these conventions. We met at college, met at Southern Mississippi. And we started going to all these conventions kind of locally to us. And we started meeting these really talented creators. Many of them were of the same mindset as us. It's like, yeah, I really want to work at... Please don't be offended by what I'm about to say. It's like, I really want to work in comics, but I really don't want to move to New York City. Right? It's like... I want to do comics, but I really don't want to move there.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah, and we found that there were a lot of people, from Louisiana, from Texas, from Alabama, in kind of our little circle of shows that we were doing. And so, Steven and I just talking, we're like, we should put some of these books together and see if we can't sell them, because these people need to be making comics. And so that's what we did. We eventually just started packaging. And so we would take a writer, we would team them up with a penciler and an inker, and we would get it lettered, and then we would take it. Our two primary places to go were Malibu Comics and Caliber. Those were the places who were interested in the things that Malibu was pretty much always our first shot. Hey, we got this. You guys want to do it? And they're like, yeah, let's look at it. And so they did most of the things that we did, but Caliber did a couple. And so we were officially a packager at that point. We didn't know that's what it was called until a little bit later. We were just like, hey, we're just helping people get work, you know? And so it was after that. So then I went to Marvel, and I'm like, okay, well, now I've learned how to do a lot of this stuff that I didn't know how to do prior, right? I mean, I could put the comics together, but I didn't know how to deal with printing. I didn't know how to deal with distributors and solicitations and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of thought, oh, well, you know, now that I've got this experience from Malibu and Marvel, I can take it and start my own, you know, small press company. So that's kind of how Silverline was born.
Gotcha.
As a publisher.
As a publisher.
Yeah.
Now, in those early days, as a packager, what did you package up? Like, what was some of the product you put out?
Sure, we did. Let's see, we did a book called The Pendulum. We did by John Drury. It was a 4-issue miniseries that I think Adventure published. We did the Mantis Files, which was written by horror novelist Sidney Williams and drawn by I see his face, Thomas Giles, an artist from New Orleans. It was set in New Orleans, very, very, very much a horror. It was a horror comic book as well. We did. He put me on the spot. I should have had a list here. Pendulum, Mantis Files. We did.
You said you didn't mind answering the hard questions.
No, I don't mind. It's just, it's my processor doesn't work quite as fast as it once did, right?
Yeah, trust me.
What else did we do? We did we did something that had Ted Slampiak. That may have been Ted Slampiak, the guy who did Jazz Age Chronicles. I think Ted may have inked The Pendulum. Mantis Files. We did. No, go ahead.
No, it'll come to you later.
Yeah, it will.
It'll come to you later when you're doing something completely different. You get a drink of the water at 2 in the morning.
As soon as we're done with this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's fine. People, there's Google. Look it up.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, so now, like, with Silverline, when did you actually become a publisher? Was it in 97?
97, yep.
Okay. So in 97, what were the first books you started publishing at that time?
Sure. The first books I started publishing, I did a book called Switchblade, which is funny because it actually predates Witchblade. But these days, if you lay the old covers on, and I may have one down here, if you lay the old covers on the table, people come up and go, "Oh, Witchblade, huh?" And you're like, "No, it's Switchblade." And they're like, "Oh, you're trying to rip people off," and I'm like, "No, I'm really not. I was around before Witchblade." So this is the original, right? This is the original one,
right?
And you can see what Leonard Kirk did the artwork for this, and you can see he designed the logo, and the S is a knife, funny looking knife. I don't know. And so we recently repackaged it as a trade, and we fixed the logo. So nobody's going to accuse me of being Witchblade anymore. But but yeah, so this is the first one, and then I did one called Marauder. Then I did a follow up to the Silver Storm miniseries that we packaged in the 90s. Then we did the Scary Book. With Sid, it's funny. It was called the Scary Book, but it was a humorous story, and it was one of those things when I called Sid Williams, the friend of mine who had written the stories. I said, "Hey man, we found this artist who wants to do a comic book, and he's got this really cool style. Can you write a funny horror story?" And he said, "Funny horror, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, can you do that?" He goes, "Sure." And so that's how the Scary Book came about.
Gotcha. Now, were you releasing these through Diamond?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Every one of them went through Diamond.
Mm-hmm. Now.
Yeah.
Diamond.
Oh.
Diamond. Yes.
So you're gonna go there, huh?
Yes, I'm gonna go there. I've had some experience with Diamond.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, like, your relationship with Diamond, do you still have one with them? first?
I don't.
Okay.
So I basically shuttered Silverline Doors in 2001. As you know, the the early 90s was flush with money and comics.
Yeah.
The late 90s, exactly the opposite.
Yeah. Not so much.
And I did it. I held on I picked the wrong time to start publishing, but I held on for as long as I possibly could. And the last thing I did was in 2001. And that's when I went back to school, got a degree, and started teaching, and didn't kind of start making comics again until 2008, 9, something like that.
Mm.
Didn't restart Silverline really until about 2 years ago. But I haven't since that period of time. I have not gone back to Diamond yet. I still plan to, but like I plan to take Cat and Mouse and Trumps and Kalis and the other things that we're doing. I plan to take them to through the traditional distribution channels, but I feel like I have to wait until my series is done. Like if I went right now, I could send them Cat and Mouse 1, 2, and 3, but I don't have 4 finished yet, and so there's going to be a gap, and I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to ship my product and get it out and put it in their hands, and so I'm waiting until each of the miniseries that Silverline is doing until they're finished, and then I'll go to Diamond. And I think once I get started, there will never be a break because we have enough projects going. So my goal is to start solicitation through Diamond next summer.
Gotcha.
That's my goal.
That's cool.
Fingers
That's
crossed.
your goal.
Yeah.
All right. Now, here's one that very few people will understand. Well, not even understand. Not so much. Very few people will even wonder why I'm asking this question. Now, when Capital City dropped out.
I loved Capital City.
Yeah, Capital City was awesome. How long? Like, how big of a hit did you take as a business?
I would say I should have crunched those numbers. I would say probably 40%.
Wow.
And that's an estimate. That's an estimate now. Like I said, I haven't. I've never actually crunched those numbers, but I would say probably 40%.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wouldn't have crunched those numbers either. It's painful.
Yeah. Yes. Very painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a huge fan of Cap City. We had a Cap City warehouse in New Orleans. And I would go down there fairly regular, also to the shows that they would do and everything. And the warehouse manager was a friend of mine. I knew quite a few of the folks who worked in the warehouse there. Good people. So I was just a huge fan of Capital City. Yeah.
Now, so when you were like, let's say in your heyday, roughly, like what type of print runs were you doing at the time?
So now are you talking about going back to the early 90s or are you talking about what Silverline, me as a publisher did?
Right.
Yeah. The most I ever printed was 4,000 copies.
Okay.
And they were all in black and white, so I didn't have to sell a whole lot of books to make that back. And I was getting orders through Capital City and through the distributors at the time. I was getting orders of about 3,000 copies, 3,500 initially, but not at the end.
Right.
Yeah. I think the last order I had for any book, I think was 400 copies. Right. And I still had to go to print with 3,000 copies. That was the minimum print run at the time. You could do more than 3,000, but you had to do a minimum of 3,000 copies. Yeah. And so I printed 3,000 books to get 400. Yeah. I realize I'm not good with math, but boy, that just doesn't add up any kind of way you look at it.
No, not at all. Were you using Brenner?
Yeah. I used Brenner, and I also used Morgan out of Canada.
I never used Morgan. I always used Brenner.
Yeah.
They always treated me right.
Yeah, I liked more. I liked both of them. They both did well by me. So.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Now, getting off that depressing
Yeah.
part of it. Because now the reason I ask is because I try to illustrate to people that like because I told them I said I started 91, 92, and when we started, I mean, we were no ones, like nobody knew who we
Right.
were, and you could sell 35,
Yeah.
4,500 books.
Yes.
you
Yes,
know,
you could.
yeah, you could do it. I had 13 distributors,
Yep.
and they all paid.
Yep.
You know, amazingly enough, I got 13 checks.
Yep.
You know, in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is
Yeah.
no electronic payments.
A distributor, you know, to this date, September 20th, 2020, no distributor owes me money. I can't say the same thing about a publisher though. As a writer, having worked for other publishers, I'm owed money still by a publisher, but no distributors owe me money.
Gotcha. Is this, if I may ask, is this a publisher still in business?
The owner of the publisher is still around, but I haven't seen them do any work in years. He's popped up recently in conversations.
Was this the gentleman we were just
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind, I'll bring that name up then.
Absolutely, doesn't bother me.
Andrew Rev.
Andrew Rev's the only person in the comic book industry who owes me money.
Really? What does he owe you for?
He owes me for a script for Vortex.
I
wrote
last
the
issue.
Yep. I wrote the miniseries Vortex. Vortex is one of the elementals, of course, which I absolutely love, and I was very fortunate to write the miniseries. Stephen Butler did the pencils for it. Great looking book. I mean, we had a lot of fun. But he didn't finish the series. He didn't finish publishing the series, and he also didn't pay me for what I'd done. So. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really weird to see his name popping up in all these, what with Rob Liefeld and stuff like that. It's really weird to see his name popping up again. I'm like, I thought that guy disappeared 30 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever.
Yeah, him owning Youngblood.
Oh man.
It's so bizarre.
It's strange.
Yeah, I'm like, you sometimes want to grab Rob Liefeld is you get a piece of Deadpool, but you no longer own Youngblood, dude.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I do. You got to look at Rob and just go, man, dude.
Yeah.
Man.
Exactly.
It's like, what do you say? It's like, dang, dude.
Exactly, but hey, contracts, weird contracts. Money.
Yep.
All right, let's get on to important stuff. Let's talk about Cat and Mouse.
All right.
Yes. Now you have a current. Now is the Kickstarter running or is it about to start running?
No, it's running right now.
Okay.
I haven't checked it within the last few hours. If you've run a Kickstarter, you know how that is. But I last saw it. It was at 80% funded. So, and
how many days left?
13, I think.
You'll make it.
Yeah. I feel good that we'll make it. I mean, there's no guarantees, but I feel pretty good. We've got a pretty good support system so far. So I think and I think people are enjoying it. And if you will allow me to fly my little flag here for a moment,
Please, that's what you're here for.
One of the things I think that people are learning about the Silverline Kickstarters is that our books are done. I could theoretically go to print with them right now if I had the money to do it.
Right.
So the books are finished. Actually, I can flip through. I don't know if this is the entire thing. Obviously, I don't have a color printer, but this is black and. I can find the camera. This is the black and white copies of the issue in question, Cat and Mouse. Nice. So and the colors are all finished as well. You can see a lot of those on the Kickstarter. But yeah, the books are done, and we do that for a couple of reasons. The first one is I'm sure you've seen all of the number of people complaining about, I don't have my book here. This person hasn't shipped my book. I pledged to this 2 years ago. Where's my book? And I've seen that, and I'm aware of that, and I'm familiar with it. I don't ever want to be that person. Not the person complaining. I don't ever want to be the person they're complaining about. So This is my 8th campaign to run.
Right.
I failed the first one. The first one I ever did, I did not make. So I don't count that, right?
Right.
So I am no, this is my 9th campaign. Sorry. So I'm this yes. So the first one doesn't count, but I'm total of 8 is what I go on. I have of the 7 that I've funded so far, we have shipped everything on time. You know, and I usually say basically you should have your stuff by November, but we often get it out. I mean, this is going to end October the 3rd is when this Kickstarter ends. We'll probably be able to ship, assuming the printer can get to it, and they're very good. It's kind of, my shirt's kind of ragged, but they're very good about getting our product. And so we'll probably be shipping, you know, end of October, nice. Which could, you know, still goes in with, especially with shipping today with the plague and everything. It can push it in November. But right. You know, like I said, I'm 7 for 7, and I don't plan to mess this one up. Our books are done, and you know, hopefully, folks who are leery about crowdfunding campaigns, and I totally get it. I mean, I'm still waiting on some too. You know, I won't mention any names, but there are some I pledged on and go, man, I'm a big fan of this person. Pledge. You know, 3 years later, I'm like, well, where's my book? I kind of want my book. You know.
Yeah, I think I'm considered a super backer. I've backed over 200 projects.
Fantastic.
So,
yeah, you should be.
Yeah, I've been there. And,
yeah.
You know,
so you've backed enough to know that there are some projects you're still waiting on.
The sad part is one of them, I know this person personally. He went to high school with my wife.
Oh,
and I'm just like, and he's fairly famous. And I'm just like, dude, where is the book?
Get it out.
Exactly. Yep. And I've done, I think, I'm either up to 17 or 18 Kickstarters I've done.
Wow.
And, you know, I churn and burn, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get those numbers and I get
but
those books out as quick as possible.
Well, and that's the thing is that, you know, you got to do it, and you've got to let, you know, the fans, your backers, they know that they can count on you. And I think that's what's important. I mean, there are some people whose projects that I have backed that if they run another one, I'm not backing it again.
Right.
You know, and it's not because I don't like them. It's not because, you know, I'm, you know, none of that. But it's just like, okay, I'll wait until you're done with the book. Because now my money, which is very valuable to me, my money has been tied up in this thing that I haven't gotten for 3 years, you know. And that's $40 or you know, 20 or 30 or 40, whatever it is, that I could have, you know, done something different with. I could have backed a different campaign that is done. You know, and that's kind of what I would rather do. So yeah, any of those campaigns that I've backed, you know, I got my little list. Okay, if they run a campaign again, it took them, or I'm still waiting, I'm not backing. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I never back anyone who owes me a book.
Right. Yeah.
If they owe you a book, don't back their like if they've done one and have yet to fulfill, no.
And I will tell you that we have skirted with that a little bit because this year we started running a campaign every other month. Right. So we're like, okay, we're doing Silverline is getting so many titles up, we can't, you know, I can't just do 4 a year because what am I going to do with these other books, right? And so we decided there are 2 things we decided. We decided to go every other month, and we decided to do 2 books per campaign. Because we just, you know, we have the product, so again, it's done. It's not like I'm saying give me the money to make these 2 things. They're done. So my campaign is running now, and it started Tuesday. We shipped out the last books the week before it started. So and there's some we used Pirate Ship for the first time ever this time. And so I've gone in and looked to kind of see how many of them, and there's still a couple on there that haven't been delivered their books. So, you know, and if it were me, I'm like, okay, well, they probably haven't backed this new campaign of mine because they don't have their book yet. I totally get that. They have been shipped. They have been sent tracking numbers though, so they know. So they know it's on the way.
Right. So at least they got proof that it's going.
Yes,
they're going to get it.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and I usually on our stream, I usually hold it up to let them see. Hey, look, it's in. Right, it's coming. It's on the way to you. This was the last one we did. So, but yeah, I'm totally with you.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Cat and Mouse, though. What's the basics?
Okay, so excuse me. Cat and Mouse is a story of a guy who gets a telephone call from his ex-fiance, and she says, "Hey, my kid sister ran away. Would you go get her and bring her home?" Well, it's his ex-fiance, so he doesn't really want to do it, but he's studying to be a police officer, so he says, "Let me see what I can do." So he goes to New Orleans and finds her, only to discover she's been caught up in a human trafficking ring. So he has to figure out how to get her out of the human trafficking ring and get her home. And yes, there are ninjas involved. And that's the pitch for Cat and Mouse.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Now,
it's
Trumps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, well, finish with Cat and Mouse.
No, I was just gonna say Cat and Mouse. It's a 4-issue story. This is number 3. If you missed 1 and 2, you can get them just by adding it on to the campaign. I thought I was going to be Kickstarter has been flirting with me with emails telling me I'm going to be part of their add-on beta, but I don't have the ability to do add-ons in the campaign yet, so I don't know if they're just taking longer or if they decided I wasn't part of the beta, but I think that's something that Kickstarter needs.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, it's and just for the record, number 4 is already written, and Alex, the penciler, I got a message from him, and he said he's starting on thumbs, so he's been doing some covers and stuff like that.
Right.
So we're already at work on number 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah. Well, it's funny. I did my last Kickstarter. I think I had that option.
Yeah.
To do the add-ons, and I was just like, what? No.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think I had. I was just totally ignored it. They send me emails and stuff, and I was just delete, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's been one of those things. I'm like, yeah, I would like to do that. That would help me get rid of some of these tiers. Right. We have a lot of art, and I'm glad, but man, I have so much original art. I must have. I haven't counted, but there must be like 40 tiers. But each piece of original art is its own tier, because I've only got one of these. This is the only one in existence, so it has to be a tier all in its own. And by the way, this is an original inked page of Trumps, which is inked by Thomas Flormonti. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep, and it's I don't know if it's gone or not, but it is available on the Kickstarter. So
it's fun.
Yeah, a lot of the artists have been very forthcoming with a lot of their art, so we've been very, very lucky to get a lot of really good art rewards.
Yeah, I think when I did one of my first Kickstarters, I was offering up all the artwork, and what I would do is I only had one tier.
Yeah.
But I said these are the 9 pieces. Send me your A, B, and C choices. And that's what
How did that? That sounds like a nightmare. Did that work?
No, it worked fine.
Really?
Yeah, it worked fine.
Oh.
Yeah, it worked fine. Got rid of all the pieces. And,
that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I would do is as soon as someone pledged to it, I would send them. I would which one do you want? Send me A, B, and C.
Gotcha.
And then what I would do is mark
it off. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all right, that one's done. All right, so these are available.
That's a good idea.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that would make it easier for you, because I know what it's like creating all the tiers. And to have to do 40 of them, man, I'd lose it.
Yeah, and you know what? In this last one, I had asked the artist, what do you want him to do? Blah blah blah, and I got it all built, and then we launched, and the next day, and I love him, so I'm not going to mention his name. He emails about, hey, I want to add all this stuff, and I'm like, really? I asked you about this like a week ago. And I'm like, well, I can't get it on immediately because it does take time to do, but I'll work on it. We'll make an announcement, and we'll release it all on. So we announced it and released it all on Friday, this past Friday. So, and I've got even a couple more pages that I got to add to it.
Wow.
Barb Kalberg sent me some. You get a sneak peek at what I'm going to add for. She's adding this one.
Nice.
And this one, which is the one of the covers for Trumps. So, and this is a splash page from Cat and Mouse. But yeah,
awesome.
this is sweet.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, and those haven't been added yet. So I've got to do that. I'm hopefully, probably going to happen tomorrow. So it'll probably be Tuesday.
Gotcha. Now, so tell me a little bit about Trumps. What's that
Okay.
one about?
Can I show you this thing first before
Course,
I'll
sure.
tell you. But so we've got a gold metallic cover,
Nice.
and this is the trying to find the yeah, and this is the sample print. Now, obviously, it'll be trimmed and folded and
Hmm.
cut and everything, but
Right.
this is if I can get it closer. This is a example of what it's going to look like.
That's
Um,
really nice.
yeah, it really is. You can't. I don't know if you how well you can see it here, but
No, no, I can. And
uh,
no, it looks really great.
yeah. But I'm really excited about it. Um, Thomas Formonti did the inks for this, colored by Sid Van Blue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Trump's is, and as you might imagine, and I think I even sent this in my message to you, not political at all in the sense that people might expect. It is political in the sense that it's a science fiction story about four
Mm-hmm.
kingdoms at war.
Okay.
So the origin of Trump's is that my family plays a lot of cards, and it came to me one day as we were playing cards. I'm like, what if this was like clubs were a kingdom and the diamonds were a kingdom, and they were fighting each other, and they had armies, and the jacks led the armies, and the tens were lieutenants, and and I just it was born from there. And so
Right.
Trump's is the story of the kingdom of clubs for this story,
Mm-hmm.
kingdom of clubs trying to achieve the ultimate power and the title of Trumps.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Now, you guys big poker players?
No, don't play poker. We
No.
play a lot of. So
Okay.
my family's. I come from a family of farmers.
Mm-hmm.
We play a lot of games that no one's ever heard of. Pinochle is about the only thing I can think of that people know. We play games like King's Reverse and Hand and Foot.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Shanghai Rummy. Probably heard of that one. No, yeah. Well, like I said, these are the kind of games that just kind of farmers gather around their tables in the evenings and play
Uh-huh.
cards.
Right.
I didn't play poker until um, probably 2001,
Mm-hmm.
2002, something like that. Maybe even a little bit later than that.
Right.
And I went camping with some guys, and we played for peanuts. But they had to
Uh,
teach me how to play. I'm like, "Look, dude, I've seen it on TV. All the westerns they play poker, but I have
uh,
no idea how to play. But no, my family just plays a lot of games, like that. Well, like I said, no, Pinochle is one of our favorites,
mm-hmm.
and that's you do go around the table and you bid on what you have in your hand and what you think you can get and how much you think you
Right.
can catch, and if you get the bid, you get to determine which suit is trumps. So you kind of bid for the ability to call
Mm-hmm.
trumps.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right. That's it. I've never played.
yeah,
I played poker,
yeah,
plenty,
yeah.
but yeah, not peanut.
Yep. All
That's
these,
interesting.
all these other games are just weird fun. But it's something that my family has done for years and years and years, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and it's just one of those things. Sitting around the table one time, I'm like, what if these? Because we play so much, what if the because in Pinochle, what happens is that you can put the Queen of Spades and the Jack of Diamonds together,
Uh,
and that's worth 30 points, which is a lot in the game, right? That's worth 30 points, and I'm like,
right.
well, what if the spades and the diamonds were fighting, but yet the Queen of Spades and the Jack of Diamonds were having a little thing on the side, and
Mm-hmm.
so all of these kinds of things are going to work its way into the story. The world is called the deck. They measure time, not in hours, but in hands. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, some is a little
All right.
goofy, but what the heck?
No,
It's a
no,
yeah,
it sounds awesome. I
yeah.
mean, so here's another one for you. So as far as Silverline is concerned,
Hmm.
obviously you're excited about Cat and Mouse and Trumps.
Yes, yeah.
What what else do you have coming up that's really exciting
I got to tell
that you can
you,
talk about?
yeah, yeah. We've got. So when I first started doing comics, several years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I did not plan to bring Silverline back. I did not. I did not say I'm going to bring Silverline back. I just said, I'm teaching. I love comics. I want to make some comics again because I miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing the comics, and man, I was having so much fun. And then once last year we announced Silverline was back, I'm telling you, the emails and the submissions came flooding in. and I was like, holy crap, what the heck? And I literally just, I had to pull the plug and said, this, I can't, I can't do it. I don't have, I teach full time. I don't have the time to do it. I still want to write my stuff. But I stepped out and I got some help. I got some folks to help me. Barb Kalberg is she's the inker of Cat and Mouse.
Right.
Barb did a book 2 Kickstarters back, one that she created and co-wrote and inked herself, called Divinity. And I'm excited about that one. It's about a young girl whose parents are mysteriously killed, and she develops the power to heal. And so now she's on the run. She's on the run from an evil cabal trying to chase her down for her powers, being protected by her ex-Marine brother and his pal. That one's a lot of fun. Twilight Grimm is done by a name that you will probably recognize, R.A. Jones, who's done some work for me in the past. Worked on the Protectors. Twilight Grimm is a story of a world of haves and have-nots, and that they're divided by a wall. It reminds me a lot of the Berlin Wall. I'm not sure if this is where he got the idea from. And on one side, the vampires rule, and on the other side, they're not allowed. But on the vampire side, the vampires are only scared of one thing, and that's a man by the name of Twilight Grimm. That's kind of exciting. Rob Davis is doing the artwork for that, so that's kind of an exciting project. I'll tell you another book that I'm excited to be doing is a book called Rejects, and the artist on that, he's got artwork out, but he's never done a comic book before. But oh my gosh, you should see! And I don't really have anything to show just yet, but he's done about 6 pages of pencils, and oh my gosh, they are gorgeous. They are just. I'm looking at these, are going. This is everything I imagined Rejects to be, and it's just about rejected superheroes who could make, the Justice League, the Avengers, my dynamic duo is Buckshot and the One Round Kid, and some of the folks on the team is they've got Burnside, who is he had these big long sideburns that kind of act like Dr. Octopus's tentacles. So they're just the heroes that have been rejected. But it's turned out to be a lot of fun. And I'm working on a for readers of if you've read any of the kind of the Cat and Mouse world before, you'll recognize the name of two projects actually. Champion, who first appeared in Cat and Mouse. He appeared later in Silverstorm. He appeared in the Demon Tales miniseries. He's finally getting his own story, which I'm going to get to develop him a little bit, and that's been drawn by Peter Clinton, be inked by Thomas Floramonti, and it is looking fantastic as well. I'm really, really excited about that. Pete joins us on our he'll be joining later tonight on the Silverline stream. And he used the pencils during the stream, so readers. I'm thinking comic readers. So people who watch the stream can have the opportunity to see him pencil. Alex has agreed. The guy who's drawn Cat and Mouse, after he finishes number 4, he wants to do and I'm absolutely on board with this. He wants to do another Demons miniseries. So when he mentioned that, I'm like, yeah. And I already had kind of some ideas in mind, and I tossed them at him, and he goes, yeah, that sounds good. And I love Evil Scientist. And I've already got a guy penciling my next Cat and Mouse story. So I'm going to finish this miniseries, then I'm going to do another Cat and Mouse miniseries. He's already, I want to say, 8 pages in. So I guess theoretically it's number 5 if I were to do it sequentially, but I think I'll probably relaunch as a new number 1 with another story arc,
Oh yeah, that would definitely be the best way to go.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to tackle Diamond.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I got a question for you. I mean, are you fast? All right. Well, I'm fascinated by the UCS Lunar DC split. Right. Right. So I'm like, because for me, it's like, oh look, a ray of sunshine.
Yes.
Some hope.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't. So let me be careful to say this. So I don't hate Diamond because I know they get a lot of grief and I know there's a lot of problems. I'm not saying there's not problems at all. I'm not saying that. But I don't hate them for being the only monopoly, the only distributor in town because they really kind of were the last man standing.
Yeah.
When the industry began to collapse, it's not like they went out and targeted all these other distributors just went under. Because the industry was that bad, and Diamond was literally just the last man standing. Yeah. So I'm not angry at them for that at all. I think what bothers me today is kind of the gatekeeping that they do, and the fact that they're like, okay, we do know we are the only game in town, and so they really up the bar. And I think a lot of things that they've done for smaller companies has not made it very easy. And those are the problems that I have with Diamond. So I think that any competition that comes in is going to be beneficial and helpful, hopefully, to folks like me and you. Because if I've got another if I have Diamond and then there's another outlet for my books, then I just, to me, that's just a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because yeah, one of the things that I've heard that they've done, I spoke at another creator on, Al Nickerson. He was telling me how he was doing business with Diamond, and then he had recently done a graphic novel and he wanted to release it through them. And they said, okay, well, let us think about it. And they were like, they got back to him and they told him his internet presence wasn't large enough. Like he didn't have enough followers on Twitter, enough followers on Instagram, and that sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, what?
I did not realize that was a requirement for them.
Yeah, this was before the DC split.
Yeah.
Now I don't know about you, but I know if they chopped off 35% of my body, I'd be dead. Most animals would be.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, so, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that and again, that's kind of why I think, like you said earlier, I think it's a positive thing. I know it was a huge step for DC, but I think it was, I think potentially it can be a very positive thing for the industry. Certainly, anything that can increase independent comic presence and the ability to get independent comics in the shops, I think is a good thing. Yeah,
I think so too. I mean, we were there for the Halcyon days when it was great.
Yeah.
Right. I would like to see those come back.
Oh man, me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah, you could pull an ideal out of your nether regions and toss it in, and it would do okay.
Right. Yeah, that's what I try to tell people.
Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, this is you have companies like Scout and Volt and these smaller publishers. They get 800-900 copies, and I'm sure if they hit 1,500, they're dancing a jig, and it's just like, and I'm just like,
I know.
It's rough.
Yeah, and of course, those books are all in color too, and so you have to ask. I know that I love Kablam, but it's the specialty is for a short run. Is it going to be worth it to print 800 copies at a short run printer to go to the distribution? I mean, I've got a friend, I won't mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to. But when I was talking about Diamond, he was like, "Why? Why do you want to do that? You're just going to lose money." And I'm like, "Oh, I was like,
just beat me up."
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, well, there's still. I mean, I personally think if I can get into Diamond, that and into shops, really. It's not so much into Diamond as I want to be into shops. Is that I think that can increase the overall presence of Silverline. They're going to be they'll be in shops that people are like, "What's this Silverline thing? I never heard of it. What's this gold metallic Trumps?" Well, actually, that's a Kickstarter only thing. But what is Trumps? What is Cat and Mouse? What is Divinity? And there'll be new things that that's my hope anyway. Whether it's reality, I don't know.
Like, I was looking at a printer, Mixum. I don't know if you know them. They'll do 1,000 copies offset.
Okay. Right? Oh, really?
Yeah. They'll do 1,000 copies offset. They'll show it to you, and the price drops down to about, I think it was $1,600,
Okay.
and that was with the shipping. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It might have been $1,600 without the shipping,
Okay.
but it's still a little pricey,
Yeah.
because it doesn't start dropping obviously until you're 2,000, 3,000
Right.
books, and it's and that's just the point. It's just a matter of looking around, because I've been thinking of going back in too, but I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know what it's like to swim in books.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not asking, but you might know what it's like to take a big box and set it on the curb, and just say,
Well, I never done that.
Yeah. I haven't done it much, but like I said,
Yeah.
when you go to print with 3,000 copies and Diamond only orders 400, my last couple of books that I did in the late 90s as Silverline, I put a couple of boxes on the curb of those, and that was painful. Let me just tell you, that was painful.
I can imagine.
In retrospect, I wish I would have it. I wish I wouldn't have done that, and I would have just used them as giveaways, or gone to conventions and here's a pile of 50, just set them on the freebie table. In hindsight, it's 2020. There's nothing I can do to get them back, but in looking back, I wish I had done that instead.
Yeah, we did that at San Diego. We would bring out a couple of cases, and, just give them on the freebie table, and they'd be gone in minutes.
Yep. Yeah. People love freebies.
People love freebies.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, if you give away 100 of them, if they were trash to you anyway, and you can get 10 sets of eyeballs on them, that's a win. That's a win.
Yeah. Well, I look at it. Well, fortunately, I never lost any money.
Yeah.
Like I always ended up in the black, not too deep, but I was there.
Yeah.
Right. So I was on the positives. I was like, okay, we made a few $100. All right, fine. But what happened? I lost a bunch of books in a flood.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was just like,
Well, I wish I could say that I never lost any money in the late 90s, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
It was a rough time. Now, I will say, thanks to Kablam and Kickstarters and things like that, I haven't lost any money doing this stuff. Now, I haven't made a whole lot of money, but for me, I enjoy doing them. Like I told you earlier, I love comic books. I love reading them. I love making them, and so I have a teaching job. It's what pays my bills. I have insurance through that, and so if I don't make much, I personally am okay. Now, I like it to generate a little bit of money, because some of the artists that I'm working with, they're not as okay with that. You know what I mean? And so, I need it to make some money so that we can, they can be reimbursed from. But I love comics. I love to read them. You can probably see my little green screen back here. My boxes are in terrible shape, and so my wife says, she goes, "They're ugly. You need to cover them up." And so I got new boxes on the way. Then I'm going to replace them all, and I can remove my sheet. But she says they're ugly. But that's just a wall of comic book boxes back there. And you can see these here. So it's not like I just try to talk the talk. I buy the things too. I buy them, I read them, and
you got them. Yeah.
Yep.
No, trust me, I know. It's once you got it in your blood.
Yes.
That's it.
It
you
is.
Have printer's ink in there. You just can't let it.
That's right. Yep.
That's it. You just can't let it go. You just
no, you can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen people step away, and every time they come back, and they're always like,
"Yep.
How can I get back in?"
Yep.
Yeah.
Always come back, because it calls you. It calls you. It's just it's I don't know. It's just one of these things. You're like, I need to do this. I need to make these comics because I love to do it. And if in me making them, I can bring joy to somebody else, if they can read my book and at the end go, that was fun, then that makes it all the better for me. I get the occasional message, not a lot, but I get the occasional message. Someone says, because I think anytime somebody backs the Kickstarter, I respond personally to every one of them, right? And occasionally I get the response, you keep doing books, I'll keep backing them. I love your work. I mean, that just,
exactly.
It makes me float a little bit. and I appreciate that. I do.
Yeah.
But I love making them.
Yep. Exactly. No, I consider it my very expensive hobby.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yep.
So I don't collect stamps. I don't collect
No.
coins.
I don't either.
Exactly. But I do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing, I don't hang out at the bars, so I don't need money for for the bar hour or happy hour or whatever it is. I don't hang out in the bars.
Yep.
Happily married, got a wife and family here, so this is this is what I do.
This is what you do. I'm the same way. So, all right. So Roland, we've been at this for a little while. We're close to the end, but we're not there just yet. So
okay.
I got a few more goofy questions for you. But first, before I ask any of those, though, where can people find you and your work?
You can find me, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and all the places. You can find me at Twitter at Man Roland. Facebook, just look for Roland Mann, Roland Mann Writer. I have a caricature that looks almost exactly like my face in most places. You can also find me via Silverline Comics. Silverline Comics has a website, silverlinecomics.com. Silverline Comics has a presence on all the social media places that you could think of. Be sure to look for Silverline Comics, because we've discovered if you just look for Silverline, you might not find us. But we're all, we're on YouTube. We're actually on Twitch as well. We're on Twitter, Facebook. I have tried to all the places. We're pretty easy to find. And just poke around and look. You'll find me. We're pretty active. My daughter helps us out with social media, so she's helping us to get, because I almost never do Twitter. I get on, I get on there and I'm like, what the heck is all this stuff? Angry. Oh, there's a comic book thing. Oh, angry. Oh, there's another comic book thing, and so I don't hang on to Twitter very much. And people, there's people that I know in comics that are arguing and fighting, and I'm like, what the heck? Y'all just make comic books and shut up,
Seriously.
So,
so eat some ice cream and go make some.
That's right.
Be happy.
I love ice cream, man. Why'd you have to mention ice cream? Now I want ice cream.
There you go. Sorry.
That's all right.
And all right. So before I start on these other goofy questions, I'm gonna ask you: is there anything that you wanted to discuss, or anything you wanted to talk about that I didn't mention or ask you?
Not that I can think of. You lobbed me the good softball, and like I said, the main thing the main pressing thing right this minute is the Kickstarter, which I hope everyone will go check out. Just look for Trumps or Cat and Mouse on Kickstarter, and you'll find it. And just as a reminder, the books are done, so it's almost like you're pre-ordering. We've got a lot of variant covers this time, more variants than I've had for any Kickstarter in the past. So and lots of original art. I was never one that bought a lot of original art, just a lot of times because it was out of my price range. But we've got so much art, and the cool thing about this is, like, if you see something on there for $90, you think, well, $90, that's a lot of money. Yeah, okay, you're right. And some of these people, you would pay $90 and just get a piece of art, right? You might pay $90 and just get the piece of art. But in the Kickstarter, you pay $90 and you also get the artwork, but you also get the comic books. And Trump's total is 48 pages. Cat and Mouse is 22 pages. So Trump's is a big book.
Now, Trump's, is that a limited series?
It is. It's going to be 4 issues. It's going to be 2 books. Sorry. It's going to be 2 books that I can actually break down into 4 issues once I go to traditional distribution.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. That sounds a good way to go.
Yep. We wanted to try something a little bit bigger.
All right. Cool. Now on to my goofy question.
All right. Fire away.
Now, first, if you had a choice of any artist, living or dead, who would you pick, comic book artist, to do a cover for you?
Oh my goodness, Jack Kirby.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack Kirby.
Now, which book?
Probably Trump's, because of the science fiction elements, and Jack Kirby was just I just love all of his science fiction techno gizmo energy stuff. I would love to see what he would do with some Trump sci-fi stuff.
Gotcha.
Trump's sci-fi stuff.
Trump's. All right, cool. Now, if you got
cool.
if they called you up to the big companies and they gave you the golden ticket and they said, Roland, pick any book, any team, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just Marvel, DC. It could be any of the companies, Image or whatever.
Okay.
What book would you want to do?
Well, there's two. Do I have to pick one, or can I pick two?
No, you can pick two.
Because one's solo and one's a team book. If I were to do a solo book, it'd be Spider-Man. Now, when I say Spider-Man, I'm talking about Spider-Man from the 60s up until about middle 90s. I really don't know I'm not up on Spider-Man in the last 20 years. I'd love to do that. So Spider-Man was one of my all-time favorites. Team book would be the Avengers in the same time period. I am a huge fan of the Avengers from the 70s into the Roy Thomas stuff on the Avengers, even into the Steve Englehart where George Perez was drawing. That is just some golden stuff there. And it would be my dream to try to bring back the same kind of energy that those guys had for those comics. So
nice.
that was goofy, but that was an easy one for me.
Okay, cool. Now I have some comparatives.
Okay.
Right? So yeah, I'll softball you. I'll give you two softballs.
All right.
We'll start with Captain America or Batman.
Captain America.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Godzilla or Gamera?
Godzilla.
Okay. Some of these will have Y.
Okay. All right.
So we'll work our way into some of these. Robert E. Howard or Fritz Lieber?
I have to go with Robert E. Howard.
Okay. Byrne or Perez?
And I'm gonna go with Perez because of the aforementioned Avengers run. I loved Byrne on the Fantastic Four, but I think Perez's Avengers run is I don't think anyone's come close to that.
Okay, fair enough. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to make a lot of enemies with this answer, aren't I? I prefer Lord of the Rings.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fair.
Oh, I've got friends that are Star Wars. Yeah, if they're listening to this, I'm gonna get some hate mail from them.
It's like, you, how could you?
That's like, I thought you were my friend.
Kirk or Picard?
I like them both for different reasons. I'm gonna go with Picard though because I think he was probably the more captainly captain.
Okay, fair enough.
But I like Kirk because he was a man of action.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, or he really was.
Yes.
Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
I'm gonna have to go with Frank Miller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think Alan Moore. So, I think he's done a lot of stuff, and I'm not trying to take anything away from him. A lot of good stuff, but I think he gets a little weird sometimes. He gets a little off the beaten path. That just you read something and you go, "Oh, what?" Where I think Frank Miller can do weird without making you go, "What the heck did I just read?" I love Miller's Daredevil stuff. That's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that's the stuff that that's like the hail to the chief for me.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Will Eisner or Alex Toth?
I'm gonna have to go with Eisner only because I don't know as much about Alex Toth. Yeah, I know a little bit, and my friend Steven would probably be smacking me upside the head if he heard this. But I've seen considerable more Eisner work than I have Alex Toth. So.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we've done a few of these. We'll do a couple more. We'll wrap it up.
Okay.
All right. So I'll throw you a couple of hard ones.
All right.
Most people consider
the Bird Perez one was pretty hard. Now.
Oh, I got a real kicker for you.
Okay.
Stanley or Jack Kirby?
Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna give you the answer that I always give. Okay, it's like, how do you pick one of the Beatles? Right? I think the Beatles were the Beatles. Paul McCartney, I like Paul McCartney, right? But he just was not the same as he was in the Beatles. Same for John Lennon or the others, I guess. You know, they are talented musicians, but outside of the Beatles, they weren't as powerful as they were in the Beatles. I think Stan and Jack is the same way. I look at the stuff that Jack did without Stan, and I think, you know, that's some cool stuff, and the artwork obviously is really, really good. But I think together they were phenomenal. I think they were the Beatles of comics. But when they broke up, they kind of had this sort of the Beatles thing. So it would be tough for me. I would probably, if you forced me at gunpoint to choose one, I would probably choose Stan, only because I guess his longevity with the company, you know, and there's so many other things that he did as well outside of his collaborations with Jack. So
okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. All right, here's the last one. Bernie Wrightson or Barry Windsor Smith?
Oh, Bernie Wrightson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, and that one's easy because I met Bernie, but I had to work with Barry Windsor Smith, so.
On Rune?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. Wow. So Bernie Wrightson, all the way.
Alrighty then. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's true. It's always easy. It's always easy when you know the guy. You're like, yeah, not that.
Yep.
Just a little difficult.
Yeah, it was
just a smidge.
Just a smidge. You know, if I thought Barry would be listening, it would have been harder. And yeah, I haven't talked to him in 20 years, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, no, good questions though. Those are fun.
Yep. So there it is. So we got to the end. So Roland, one more time, let everybody know where they can find you and find your work.
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook at Roland Mann. You can find me on Twitter at ManRoland. I have a website, which I haven't updated as much since Silverline has been going around, just rolandman.me. But you can find me a lot, very active on the Silverline stuff, Silverline Comics on Facebook. We have a group, we have a page, Silverline Comic on Twitter. And the Silverline Gang, we stream on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. There's two different groups. The Wednesday guys call themselves the Wednesday Wham. I drop in occasionally, and on Sundays we call ourselves the Silver Sunday crew. Yeah, so you can find us all over. Just look for Silverline Comics, and you'll find me there.
All right, cool. So there it is. Go check out his website. Go support those books. They look awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Hit like, hit subscribe, share out those videos. Go check out the Oswald Indiegogo, and I'll be talking to you all soon. Have a good night, guys. Thank you,
everyone. Thank you so much. I appreciate talking to you.
Thank you.